1187 AD. 88 years later, the city, for which countless lives had been lost, was finally about to return to the hands of a commander, remembered not only for his military brilliance, but for his extraordinary mercy. This is the story of Sultan Saladin and the historic conquest of Jerusalem. In 1099 AD, during the First Crusade, the Crusaders captured Jerusalem. According to many historical accounts, after the city fell, thousands of Muslims and Jews were killed in the aftermath of the siege. The tragedy sent shockwaves throughout the Muslim world. Nearly 88 years later, Sultan Saladin set out not only to reclaim a city, but to restore hope to millions. On July 4th, 1187, the decisive Battle of Hattin began. Saladin strategically cut the Crusader army off from its water supply. The scorching heat, combined with thirst and exhaustion, left the Crusader forces weak and vulnerable. In the end, the Crusader army was decisively defeated. With that victory, the road to Jerusalem was finally open. After Hattin, Saladin captured one fortress after another and one city after another. By the end of September 1187, his army stood outside the walls of Jerusalem. The city's defense was led by Balian of Ibelin. For several days, the siege continued. Both sides understood that if the battle entered the city, thousands of innocent civilians could lose their lives. Eventually, Balian entered negotiations with Sultan Saladin. On October 2nd, 1187, Jerusalem surrendered. But what happened next would define Saladin's legacy for centuries. He did not choose revenge. Instead, he chose mercy. The civilians were allowed to leave the city peacefully after paying a ransom for many who could not afford it. Saladin and his commanders paid the ransom themselves. As a result, thousands of innocent lives were spared. Soon afterward, Jerusalem was restored, and Al-Aqsa Mosque was reopened for worship. Saladin did not simply conquer Jerusalem. He showed the world that true victory is not just defeating an enemy. It is about showing justice, mercy, and honor when you have the power to do otherwise. That is why, even today, Saladin is remembered not only by Muslims, but also by many non-Muslim historians as one of the greatest military commanders in history. But Saladin's greatest victory was not won on the battlefield. It was won through compassion. Unlike many conquerors of his time, he refused to turn victory into revenge. Instead of ordering a massacre, he protected the lives of civilians, regardless of their faith. Many Christian families were allowed to leave the city safely. Churches remained standing, and religious worship continued. His actions earned the respect even of many of his former enemies. For centuries, historians have remembered Saladin not only as a brilliant military commander, but also as a symbol of justice, honor, and mercy. His leadership proved that true strength is not measured only by victories in war, but by the character shown after victory is achieved. Even today, his name continues to inspire millions of people around the world. The conquest of Jerusalem was more than a military triumph. It became one of history's greatest examples of courage, wisdom, and humanity. More than 8 centuries later, the legacy of Sultan Saladin still lives on. His story reminds us that real greatness is not found in power alone, but in justice, in mercy, and in the choices we make when victory is already ours. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more authentic stories from Islamic and world history.